Legend Rick Martin had a serious brain disease when he died. Scientists at Boston University did research on his brain after his death with his family's permission. They say he had a disease known as CTE, which is linked to repeated brain trauma. They say the condition shows even hockey players who don't fight are at risk of brain damage. So how could the findings on Rick Martin's brain help athletes who are still on the ice? News 4 medical expert Dr. Peter Ostro is here with that tonight. Doctor, there are a lot of questions about this.
There's certainly. You know, Rick Martin played in the days before we were aware of the importance of concussions and their long-term impact on the brain. And back then, many athletes, you know, had their bell rung and stayed in the game, but that doesn't happen now.
That's right.
Rick Martin played without a helmet, and he took a lot of hits, even though only one of them was regarded as a concussion back then.
How many times did he get a subconcussive injury playing hockey from when he was a little kid up until he finished as a pro? And we just don't know how dangerous those are, how significant they are, how much cumulative trauma is needed to induce something like this in your brain.
With each blow to the head, there may be a few tiny areas of brain injury. Shortly after the injury, we can recognize individual damaged nerve fibers, which are shown here in red. With the passage of time, proteins from damaged cells accumulate. They're stained brown here. At higher magnification, those deposits can be seen inside brain cells. More deposits signify greater damage. We need to try to limit or prevent that damage. One way to do that is to treat concussions very carefully.
If you have a brain injury and are concussed, your brain is in a very vulnerable position for a period of time, and that if you get a second or a third injury during that time, it seems like the consequences are much worse.
At the UB Sports Medicine Center, Dr. Leding and his colleagues use exercise testing to determine whether an athlete is ready to return to practice.
What we're starting to do here is put them on a treadmill and make them prove that they can exercise all the way up to maximum without symptoms and looking good. And that tells us that they can go out and run around, at least to begin with.
You know, millions of people have concussions and don't end up with permanent brain damage. The key is to take it easy during that vulnerable period when your brain cells are especially susceptible to another episode. And the continuing symptoms of concussions can be subtle. Sleep disturbance, irritability, a mild headache, sensitivity to noise. You have to get past those before getting back into active sports.
I think a lot of parents have such a heightened awareness about this now. Should your child be playing contact sports altogether? I mean, it's going to happen.
Well, there are a lot of ways to get concussions, and you can't avoid them all. But a new law goes into effect in July in New York State that will require any student athlete with a possible concussion to leave the field, be seen by a doctor, and be completely symptom-free for 24 hours before returning to practice. And that ought to help, okay? We can really mitigate a lot of that problem.
It ought to help. And the awareness among the parents, the coaches, everybody around who sees this happen, that we can't let this child go back until symptom-free.
And that was an awareness that didn't exist during the time Rick Martin played hockey.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. Well,